and welcome to Visibility Unlimited and Visibility Unlimited Spotlight, the video portion to Visibility Unlimited, the podcast. I'm Leslie Short, your host and the owner of the Cavu Group. As usual, I'm excited to speak to my guests because, as usual, I feel, and I hope that you all feel that are watching and listening, that I have some very cool guests on that are doing amazing work. Today, my guest is Lynette Medley, and she's amazing. And we're going to have a topic of conversation that I hope you listen all the way through to the end. I am putting this out for Women's History Month because this is an important conversation. Men, please don't tune out. You have a mom, you have a sister, you have a cousin, you have a friend that identifies as female. This is so important to speak about fighting period poverty. Lynette, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Can you share what you do, what your mission is, what you're fighting for?
Definitely. I would love to share. I'm the founder and CEO of No More Secrets Mind, Body, Spirit Incorporated, and the co-founder of the Spot Period Hub, which is the nation's first and only menstrual hub and uterine wellness center. So our fight or mission is to decrease uterine health disparities, especially in communities of color, so that they can have a fighting chance of living in dignity and reaching their full potential while they bleed during their periods.
Absolutely. So yes, everyone, you heard correct. We're going to speak about periods and menstrual cycles today because I don't think most people really understand, and I'm really pushing the season about equity, the lack of equity, not only for women, Black girls or women of Black women, women of color, but for women, no pun intended, period, because of cost as well of menstrual pads, Tama, just the necessity. Can you share about your hub and about the lack of equity?
Definitely. So one of the things that I'm glad you did highlight was that this is a equity issue. I think, and it's a health equity issue because at the end of the day, people don't choose to have periods. You just get a period. So many of the things that we talk about are choices, and we provide products for those, but we don't provide products for this 8 and 9 year old who just wakes up and has a period. So what we do at the Spot, which is different than many of the other people who say they fight period, and I'm being very intentional, authentic in my conversations, is because we provide a comprehensive approach to menstrual health as a system of care. And by doing that, we provide a wellness center, resources to gynecological care, information. We do a menstrual risk assessment, and we provide products based on the community's choice. Again, oppression should never alleviate choice. So we don't tell people what they deserve or what they need because we always teach about bodily autonomy and respecting your choices, but then
Right.
we kind of say, this is what you take. So we provide them what they're used to. We expand their knowledge or what they might not be used to. And we provide them a fluidity of care around period products. So that's what we do at the Spot. And I think it's been life-changing for so many people. We've allowed people to continue going to work, to be able to go to school, to be able to raise their family, to stay in the workforce, all the things that we want our communities to do. But so many people are inhibited by it, by the lack of access to menstrual products and care.
Because I don't think people realize how many girls miss school because their parents may not have enough that month to share
Definitely.
amongst the family, or
Definitely.
that are using paper towels from back in the olden days, the way that it used to be, that is still happening in 2024. The fact of girls playing sports
Oh,
and
wow.
what the uniforms look like and what your options are. Because let's just be honest, it wasn't too long ago, 2023, that people still barely had the conversation about women having periods.
Definitely. And they're still not really having them, Leslie. I mean, and you just touched on so many things. So, of course, we're looking at it through a socioeconomic issue where parents can't afford it based on, just think it's a mother with 3 daughters. That's how much a month? Think about it. And they can barely afford food. And one thing that I do want to highlight is that menstrual products aren't covered by WIC, SNAP, Medicaid, or Medicare. So I
Wow.
don't know if people in the audience are aware of that, because they'll say, oh, let their benefits pay for it. There is nothing to pay for. Then you also have the person who is so-called middle class or who's working. There's nothing set up in our government to bridge the gap for menstrual products. So after they've worked all their hours, paid all their rent and utilities and taken care of their family and gotten food, there's nothing to bridge the gap if they need menstrual products. So then we're also talking about people who are playing sports and different things, kids who want to do extracurricular activities. Imagine having to afford to be able to get certain products. So some people say, oh, we get a cup or get underwear. Cups range $55 a pop. You understand? That's just one menstrual cup. And also you're talking about, so we have to make sure they have running water, they have utilities, they're not housing insecure, and then mom can pay for all of these things in addition to the uniform that needs to fit around the product that they choose. So we're talking about all of these things that we do not address. And I think that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation around menstrual health management and maintenance for our communities.
Well, absolutely. I mean, like you said, it is health equity.
Yes, it
And
is a health equity issue.
people will say to me, well, let's say you usually speak about business. This is business. There are women that are so sick that cannot go to work, that have issues, that don't know, I don't have, I'm going to use this envelope, that takes something in a little pouch to get to the restroom as they're shivering from their cubicle or from their desk, so that their male counterparts will not throw it back into their face saying, oh, what, you're on your period. I mean, the lack of knowledge that
Definitely.
we have in a society
Mm-hmm.
that wants to be so smart about everything and
But
wants to decide what happens with women's bodies
mhm.
will not discuss what actually happens with women's bodies.
And you know what, Leslie, the funny thing is that I realized that many people don't know what periods are. I don't think they have the knowledge base to even have a educated conversation about it. So they kind of use, terminology that's incorrect, words that's incorrect. And back to the person at work, one of the things that people need to realize also is bathroom access. The lower your socioeconomic status on the pay scale, the lack of access that you have to bathrooms, because you have to ask for permission. You can't leave your desk. You can't leave your station. You can't. And people don't think about that. So the poorer you are, the less access to the bathroom you have, but you need heavier products to be able to do so. So again, it's keeping these people in these cycles. Also, like you said, if you do have bathroom access, what about people who have PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids? They have heavy clotty periods where basically they're sitting there in pools of blood. And so they have to constantly go to the bathroom, and their male counterparts are like, what's going on? You're missing this meeting, or why are you walking away, or why? So again, us making this conversation for everybody to talk about, I think this is the way that we are able to make it more equitable and more accessible to all parties. But the one thing I also want to talk about is my population who have hemophilia and inherited blood disorders. So
Mm.
again, they bleed all month. So many of them have ongoing periods, and this is a medical condition. This is a medical crisis that, again, they can't even get a prescription, or a doctor can't even prescribe period products to them. So I wanted to cover all bases. So you have the people who care about socioeconomic people. You have people who care about workforce. You have people who care about children. You have people who care about a medical issue. It encompasses all. So again, we need to do something different to address this egregious issue that's affecting so many people in our communities who bleed.
Absolutely. I know one of the things that I bring up when I am working with corporate clients and I'm looking at a full assessment of equity at all levels.
Definitely.
And I will say, do you have menstrual products in your restroom? And the
Mhm.
blank stares that I receive are just, and they're like, wow, listen, you're going to make us speak about this. And I'm like, well, you're saying you want to have equity across the board. There are small things that are very big things that you may be surprised. All you need is a basket. You
Yeah,
do a supply, or you do depending on the size of the company, maybe there's a deal that you can do, but you put them out. And I'm always like, trust me, there's not a woman in the world that's going to steal them. What they're going to do is share them, because
have to
I
share
don't
them.
care. Any nightclub, you can go in the middle of the night and somebody says, hey, I have like black, white, yellow, green, purple. No one cares. They're going
Yeah,
to share. As expensive as they are, women will
definitely.
share them. And I just want to share a story. Since speaking with you, I was speaking with the principal of a school, and I was at their home for dinner. So
Mhm.
yes, I brought this up at the dinner table because I was excited to speak with you, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to speak to a principal of a school, public school. And he said, "Well, Leslie, wow, I know they have them." He goes, "But now you're making me think. I think they're on the guidance counselor on the fourth floor, and then they're on another floor." So he went in and pulled in everyone to have a meeting. He was like, what was crazy, the pushback was other women. Oh, they're going to steal them. They're going to, I knew you were going to get going on this. That's why I had to, like, they're going to steal them. They're going to do this. And I was like, you go buy a basket and you put them in every single restroom. And I will shout out one of my clients, Randall's Island, that has a whole park that actually took this initiative to make it part of what they do as part of the park.
Mhm. I'm glad you said that.
Nick.
Many times when I'm having conversations, most of the pushback I get are from other women, which to me shows that society has accomplished what they wanted to make us feel shameful about our periods. Usually when we're in the conversations, the men or the people without uteruses, so I can be inclusive, will say, oh, this makes sense. I definitely want to support. I want to do what I can. But the women are just like, oh, you should be able to do this and you should be able to do this. No one's running around stealing toilet paper. No one's running around stealing paper towels. Even, I don't mean any harm, the condoms that you put out, you put them in baskets and you don't think about that. But as soon as we bring out period products, all of a sudden, the period, the tampon police come out. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't understand why you think that kids want to just steal products when they're hiding them up their sleeve and in their bags to get into the bathroom. So again, the instructional time that a young person loses from going into the bathroom, because remember, it's involuntary. So sometimes it comes when they don't know. Say they might have just been going to the bathroom to use the bathroom. Oh my God, my period is on. Let me put some toilet paper down here. Now I have to go to class, get another note, because now I got to go to the counselor's office, to go to the counselor's office, to go back to the bathroom. I mean, this makes no sense.
Exactly.
It
Up
makes
and
no sense.
down.
Up and down, up and down, when all you have to do is put a little basket in there. Again, not a dispenser for $2,000 and $3,000. We're not asking for that.
Nope.
We didn't say that. And those brands that do that, shame on you. But you don't do that to our schools. But again, a basket with some products, and that's all you need.
And he asked me the other day, he goes, "Well, what do I order?" And I was loving him. And his wife is sitting there and she's just smiling. And he goes, "And I was raised with sisters and mothers, but you know what's happening, but you don't really know." I said, you're in, I said, even though they're in middle school, it doesn't mean that they're not heavy or light. I said, so if you can get a mix
A mixture.
and put in that, you're winning. You're winning regardless. And maybe you're here, the girls ask for different sizes to the guidance counselor, then you know to order more of that size.
Definitely.
But let's just start with a basket filled.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Accessibility means so much, especially when you're in the space there.
Yes.
That makes so much more sense so that they can have what they need and go on about their day.
And this is a conversation for everyone, because one of my favorite stories is a little girl got her period on the bus, and one of her classmates, a young guy, took his jacket off and just went and sat by her. You remember that? And he said, "Tie it around your waist. I have sisters too." And for that young boy at that middle school age to understand, to know and respect, and just be her guide, so she would
Definitely.
not be embarrassed. Like, I got you.
Definitely. Well, it's ironic because the way we got into this place, or I say tripped and fell into this place, was really because we did a lot of work around bodily autonomy and teaching people to have privacy and protection of their body. So we were doing classes with young people who referred to us from acting out sexually or making poor relationship choices. And I'll never forget the conversation. I'll call her Holly. She was in my office and we were doing a class, and she said, "Miss Lynette, how do you expect me to respect my body when 1 week out the month everybody in the world turns their back on us?" And I remember looking at her and said, "Can you explain that a little bit to me?" She said, "Well," and this is a little graphic. She said, "Well, Miss Lynette, me and my sisters will perform sexual acts, we'll steal, we'll sell our bodies to get pads and tampons. And this is I don't think people realize how deep this is. And survival sex, you're usually thinking about it for food insecurity and housing insecurity, but menstrual insecurity is the same thing. So they basically, and this was a 16-year-old, so it was a 16, a 14, a 12, and an 11-year-old that engaged in sexual favors to get pads and tampons to be able to go to school. So at that moment, I was just like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. What can we do? And I remember asking her, I was like, are you homeless? Are you, no, she said, I live at my mom. And after she pays everything and the benefits don't cover this. And that was a rude awakening to me. So again, like you have me on here having this conversation. We hear about things so many times in our community and we're like, oh my gosh, somebody should do something. So I jumped into action and say, okay, we cannot continue doing this. And in true transparency, it regurgitated everything in me because I lived in period poverty, but there wasn't a name there. We suffered in silence. So it was just like, okay, your previous pain that you suppressed is now going to come up and it's going to change into your passion. And when you have a lived experience with a traumatic situation, and then you hear another young person tell their experience, then that's when it was like, okay, I have to do something differently. So again, that is why this work is so important. Again, that is why we do what we do. And again, we're saving lives by changing minds around menstrual health and wellness.
Absolutely. And I know you've expanded. You're on what, 5 ACBU?
HBCU. Yes. So we have
Campuses?
our main site, which is in Philadelphia on Germantown Avenue. That is the spot period, the nation's first hub and uterine wellness center. And then we expanded. We have 5 satellite locations. They're on Hampton University, Lincoln University, Dell State, Morgan State, and Lincoln University. And they're all funded through a partner. Oh, and Cheney, I forgot about Cheney, and a partnership that we have with a pharmaceutical company. But what I do want to highlight to people is that we are not funded by the city, state, or federal government. We are completely self-funded through crowdfunding, donations, and communities, foundations. So again, this has not been highlighted in our communities and our legislation as something that's deemed as a need or a health disparity. So we're just spreading the word, and we are inundated. We have a waiting list of over 2,700 people right now because we still are the only menstrual hub and uterine wellness center.
Wait, let's
But
go back.
again,
Let's not brush over that. The
we have
waiting
a
list is
waiting.
for what exactly? What do they?
So so our waiting list, so let me just tell you how important the work that we do. So even though we're located in Philadelphia, we are the referral source for every major hospital, every community center, every school in our area and tri-state area, and also the nation, because we are the only one in the nation. So in October, our appointments filled up. And our appointments are our wellness appointments where you come in, you do your wellness session, get information, and you get your products. And we give everybody a 6 to 12 month supply of products. So every week we give out over 63,000 products, full packages of products, not period packs, open packs. I don't know where that came from. And let me tell you why I say you don't open a package. A package is packed for a reason. If you open the package and you give people pieces like Lucy's, is traumatizing to our community, but also if they have a reaction, you don't know what brand it is. If it's a recall, you don't know what brand it is. If it's expired, you don't. So we give them the full package because they should have something in dignity. You don't open packs of hot dogs and give one hot dog to people. I don't know where they got that from.
Love
I don't
you.
know. Even the idea, oh, they're going to sell them. Again, that's coming from a privileged mindset, and that's not how my community operates. So we give everybody a full package. We give everybody 6 to 12 months supply of products so that they don't have to come back to us for a year. So October, we filled up 4 appointments. So we said we're going to open up in January. We opened up on January 8th for our first quarter, for our appointments up to May. We filled up in 48 hours.
Wow.
48 hours. Because again, there's no other organization that operates and does what we do around the nation. So that's what we
We will
do.
need to tag every single menstrual product company on this podcast.
Definitely.
For anyone that says that they are looking to be part of social impact, that they're looking to move the needle, that they want to invest in communities. I don't know any way at this point, a better way. Yes, there's food, of course. Yes, there is housing, of course. There is healthcare, but this is part of healthcare. This is really impacting young women, young girls,
Definitely.
young women's adults, because we don't know. Every adult doesn't have healthcare, doesn't go to have their bodies checked in and are prepared for what needs to happen every month.
Definitely. And, I think one of the biggest things is that this is something that people don't choose. And I keep telling people that, many times the things that we give finances to and we support are choices, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm not going to put them out because I want to say Lynette's bad mouthing this, but this is, it just comes. It's a normal, natural part of life. And to me, it should be looked at as a medical device that we actually provide these for people. just like we provide anything else. Because again, people can't live and people use the worst items, like you said, socks, stuffing from stuffed animals, wife beaters, and then that causes other issues, or a tampon. And they actually told me they've dug in bins and used used products. So they will use a used product out of a bin too. So again, so that's causing other infections and diseases and skin breakdowns that are causing other health issues. So again, this is something we really need to address. And we are very intentional about the way that we do our work. And the reason we don't just say, oh, here's a bag for you, here's a bag for you, because most of the people who are coming have other underlying uterine health issues. You understand? Because the people who are usually coming who are in need of products usually don't have the cute little 1-2 day period that's dripping and dropping. Let's just be honest. Usually, I'm just telling you, that's not the people who you usually see who are in crisis needing products. Usually it's an underlying issue. It could be a bleeding disorder. It can be, PCOS, fibroids, or anything like that. So even in connecting them with a healthcare professional or making sure they get evaluated and just educating, teaching them how to articulate their wants, needs, and desires within the healthcare community. So again, we do so much work. That's why our waiting list is what it is. If you follow our social medias, you will see and another thing, we do this work every day. So you'll say, oh, there's organizations. No, they do it. Okay, they do a pop-up here and there. They do a drop-off here and there, but no one has created an organization that actually services communities every day.
And I just want to say, there's one thing that probably people don't think about. The fact of, I've heard this from adults, that the length of time to keep a tampon in, because they're trying to make it stretch or last, and that causes so many other issues on top of it. And I just don't think there's just a lack of education.
That's it.
Beyond, if you are maybe blessed enough, I'm gonna use that word, blessed enough, to go to a school that does beyond step 1, you get a period, go to the nurse, that does maybe step 2 or 3, but it's not being taught. It's not being taught in homes. And I'm talking, I know very wealthy people that said they never learned how to properly use, because again, generational, white, black, yellow, green, that conversation didn't always happen. Mark it on the calendar, and here's this, and good luck, you're a woman now.
I think that's very important to talk about, Leslie, because we do the education piece. And when we're educating the young people, even though we know the parents need the education too, I start with, what is a period? Like, what is a menstrual cycle? And most people don't even know what it is, or the parents. So we educate people about that so they know the parts of their body, the parts of their reproductive system, the parts of their external genitalia, to be able to tell people, like, this is where the blood comes from. We do not urinate out of the same hole as our periods come out of. And that's something that's so funny. I was talking to a male person who was at a school. He was in administration, and he said, did you know that after talking to you, I thought that girls could hold it, like they hold. And people were like, oh my God. I said, but have we ever taught the men or the people without the uterus? We separate the rooms, and we barely talk to the people who do have periods, let alone the people who don't. But why would you, how would they know that they can't hold it? Because that education piece doesn't take place. So again, and then I talk to young people when I'm trying to introduce the cups to a lot of the sports players, and they're like, well, I'm peeing in. I'm like, no, you have a different opening, you have a different hole. So that's, again, that education piece is key. And that's why we do this comprehensive approach, where we actually create this safe space to be able to share information so you can be vulnerable and ask questions, and we educate them about periods and menstrual health. But again, that does not happen. So we need to be more open about talking to our communities about periods and how to use period products. Because again, you're not supposed to keep a tampon in past 7 hours. You're not supposed to sleep in a tampon, because again, a tampon is absorbing, and that's absorbing the lining, which again is our immune system. So again, different things can happen if we keep a tampon in too long, and also from infections and diseases.
There are so many things. I want to make sure that I know we could be.
I'm sorry.
No, but I love it. And this is an important conversation. And from the moment I saw you on another friend's podcast, I told you I was so sick that night that I didn't have my camera on, but I was texting him on the side, like, I need her. I want to speak to her. When we speak about equity, when we speak about inclusion, when we speak about diversity, there's diversity of menstrual cycles.
Yes.
When we speak about understanding, when we speak about cultural differences, understanding the conversations are different culturally, this topic should be number one, and yet
Absolutely.
it is hidden under a blanket. Go lay down, put a heating pad on, take some Advil, and
That's it.
buck up. And we're missing the mark. What else do you need people, or you would like for people to understand about this? I really want them to listen to this and go back to their offices and be like, hey, why don't we have this here? Go back to their schools and say, where are they located? What
Definitely.
what 4 floors do girls need to run up and down to
Yeah.
find something and get back to class?
One of the things is that I would say that look at it as a necessary item within your corporation, business, or school. It should be a line item. It shouldn't be an afterthought. Just as you do your budget and you put in for toilet paper and paper towels, you need to put in for menstrual products. Again, because so many times you think of it as an afterthought, and then it's like, where are we going to get the funding? Where? Because again, you need to look at it as a necessity. People do not choose it. Your workers don't, your students don't. So put it as a line item in your budget to say, hey, we need to get these products. And then that way it will be infiltrated throughout your everyday system and your operations, because then from the top down, now you're going to create an operational way of being able for people to access it, to distribute it, and for people to be able to receive what they need when they go into the restrooms. I think that's the way you need to look at it, that this is a necessity that needs to be incorporated in the, in the fabric of your operations. And I think if we look at it that way, then it's not something that, oh, we have to go run around and look for it or find out about it. Also, understand that people have periods, and periods do affect different people's bodies differently. So if you see this coworker or this person having to get up and do whatever, understand that that's something that they have to take care of, because it's a normal, natural part of life. It's amazing to me when people are like, oh, period blood is nasty and disgusting, but this is the blood that made you come into fruition. You would not be here without that blood that's happening in our uterus. But it's the same blood we mourn over if we lose a baby, and the same blood that we rejoice over if somebody is impregnated. But as soon as the blood is coming out, somehow it's nasty and disgusting. So really think about why we look at it that way, and who taught us this, and why is this, idea out there that is this nasty, disgusting thing. So I think that's it's just the lining of our uterus that is used to provide nutrients
Lens.
for to get pregnant. That's all it is. Like,
Right.
that's what it is. And if we're not pregnant, that lining comes out with the egg that's not fertilized. Okay. So looks a
Right.
lot differently now when you hear about it. So I
Absolutely.
think that's some of the education. But again, also know that people have medical conditions. People have other issues that are causing severe pain and anguish. It's not just, oh, they just have a period, they're just being overreactive. But Leslie, you know what the funny thing is? You know how when women have uterine disorders and they get it removed, it's still called a hysterectomy, like they're removing the hysteria instead of a uterus, like not a uterus.
Oh,
It's still a hysterectomy. So again, just think of all the messages that have been passed down from generations to generations about periods and uteruses that have not been positive. So now let's change it to a positive conversation. And I think that way things can be differently. Funding will take place. Menstrual health will be looked at as a system of care. And well, the only good thing is I was up at Harrisburg. So our new governor, Shapiro, because he's been visiting the spot, his wife visited the spot, and we've been talking. So this year in their budget, they did allocate $3 million for period products in schools.
I
First governor who has ever
love
in
that.
Pennsylvania mentioned period during the budget, and is we have to make sure it passes. You know how that is, but
Yes.
he did allocate $3 million for public schools to have period products. So there is some progress happening, but we just really need the supports. The spot needs the support in the work that we do, so that it can be more spots and more funding to be able to service our communities.
And can you please tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find the spot again, the best social media to connect? Because
Definitely.
I want your email and all your social media to be exploding
Definitely,
with
definitely.
things.
So of course, so our, website is No More Secrets MBS.org for mind, body, spirit. Our social media is the Spot Period Hub or No More Secrets MBS. We're like that on Instagram. And I think we're on TikTok now too. I think it's No More Secrets MBS on TikTok too. But it's No More Secrets MBS and the Spot Period Hub. You can just type us in. We're all over because we, have created the nation's first one. But again, we turned our pain into passion. And let me tell you, the Spot is founded, when I say co-founder, it's founded by myself and my daughter. So we are the mother-daughter duo that have created the nation's first menstrual hub. And we started it through a crowdfunding campaign during a national pandemic.
I love it. And so there needs to be like, so many more clones of the two of you
Yes, definitely.
around. My wish for you is that this is just the beginning and that you will be on a national stage being able to have this conversation and continue to educate.
Definitely.
And that
Speaking it into existence today, Leslie, speaking it into existence.
yes, I am very passionate about your passion and the educational portion, and to bring to light these types of topics that we do not have when we continue to speak about how we live and how we move as a society. We must
Definitely.
break down the stigmas that come along with um, who we are, who we think someone else should be, or how they should move. And this
Yeah,
is one of the big stigmas that we need to discuss because, as you said, it is very natural.
very natural. We
Yeah.
don't choose it.
You don't choose it. And
We
look,
don't
there's some
choose
women
it.
that are very excited each month and some not that are so excited each month. Depends on which way you
Knows
look at
whether
it.
we want it or not.
But either way, it is part of who we are.
Yes.
And I thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to this being a beginning of our conversation and our relationship. Um,
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you as always for listening, for watching. I'm Leslie Short, your host. Please watch out for the interview on the Cavu group on YouTube and, all the social media. You can reach out to the Cavu group. And if you cannot, for some reason, find Lynette, reach out to me and I will make sure to connect you. As always, keep expanding beyond your current culture. Thank you.